This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth, and I believe that freedom of speech is absolutely paramount and fundamental if you want to exist in a truly free society. And that's why we have to talk about a 53-year-old English woman named Julie Sweeney. Because Julie used to live a pretty quiet life in a small town in Cheshire, where she would often post some of her thoughts to Facebook, as many of us do. Today she's in prison, serving a 15-month sentence after being convicted under new criminal code provisions in the United Kingdom's Online Safety Act. And the reason that she's currently in jail is because of something that she posted on Facebook after witnessing the riots in the UK following the murdering of 3 little girls. And here's what Julie said. She said, quote, "Don't protect the mosques, blow them up with all the adults inside." Now, that was indeed an extremely ugly and very bad thing to say. But from what I can tell, there is no evidence that would suggest that this went on to cause anybody to cause any kind of harm, or that this was a rallying cry of any kind. As this Zero Hedge article points out, we can all agree that it was a truly dreadful thing to say. And we should all acknowledge that other than writing and hitting send, Miss Sweeney's crime is entirely about something hideous that she said in a post later deleted, not something that she did or inspired someone to do. She admitted in court that the post was made in anger, that it was unacceptable, and that she didn't intend to inspire fear, which, if you were a regular attendee at the mosque, you likely would have felt it if you read it. People can debate whether statements of that nature should be censored by civil society through shaming, shunning, and blocking, or through the intervention of the state. What really catches the eye in this case, though, is the intensity with which the presiding judge punished her upon accepting her guilty plea. According to the Daily Mail, her lawyer had told the court that Miss Sweeney accepts it was stupid. This was a single comment on a single day, he said. She lives a quiet, sheltered life in Cheshire and has not troubled the courts in her long life. Her character and references show she lives a kind and compassionate lifestyle. She has been primary caregiver for her husband since 2015. The judge said he took Sweeney's good character and what he termed a heart-rending letter from her husband into account, but that even people like you need to go to prison, because a message must go out that if you do these terrible acts, the court will say to you, you must go to prison. So the judge acknowledged that she's a good person and that it was a stupid first-time offense. But instead of a summary conviction or a suspended sentence with maybe a ban on posting to social media, the judge decided that he would set a precedent. And this new precedent should be of grave concern to Canadians, because Bill C-63 is much like the UK's Online Safety Act, only it's much worse. In the UK, you can be arrested, not for tweeting, but for retweeting a harsh opinion if it is deemed that those words that you share are likely to lead to escalating racial tensions, even if your intentions are good.
The offence of incitement to racial hatred involves publishing or distributing material which is insulting or abusive, which is intended to or likely to start racial hatred. So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence. And we do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification arrests and so forth. So it's a really, really serious. People might think they're not doing anything harmful. They are, and the consequences will be visited upon them.
Now, it's important to note that likely to is pre-crime talk. This is talking about something you may or may not do in the future. Bill C-63 is similarly all about censorship, but it's disguised as attempting to protect children from online harms. Now, there's been a slow march towards this end with the introduction of various bills like CISPA and PIPA and ACTA and SOPA. But they've since rebranded this attempt at censorship with the introduction of Bill C-11, which would hand over to the CRTC the ability to regulate the internet. It gave the ability to major social networks like Facebook to alter the discoverability of news sources like yours truly, which means that they now get to decide what information is boosted and what information is buried. And much like in the UK, under Bill C-63, you could be arrested for something that is likely to potentially cause an offense. And much like in the UK now, under Bill C-63, you can potentially be arrested if you are likely to expose someone to hatred. Not that your words may likely lead to physical harm, but that your words may likely lead to someone's feelings getting hurt. Or even if it's likely that it will cause someone to feel hatred for someone else. Now that's obviously very, very subjective. I mean, how can anybody possibly measure that? And as if that wasn't crazy enough, guys, under Bill C-63, absolutely anyone can bring a complaint to the Human Rights Commission, and if that complaint is upheld, the person who they were complaining against would have to potentially pay $20,000 to the person who filed the complaint. And that's per incident, by the way. And the complainant doesn't even actually have to be the victim. It can literally be anyone out there, which could potentially make for a very lucrative endeavor. Because if you were to file a couple of, let's say, 24 complaints a month, and just one of them sticks, well, you're now making a pretty good living for yourself. So now the victim doesn't even have to be involved in this court case. And now anybody who dislikes what you say, even if they're not the victim, can take you to court. You know, all those haters that are always commenting on your posts? Well, they might now get paid for complaining that you hurt their feelings. I once had someone email one of my sponsors a few years ago and try to convince them to stop sponsoring me because of my views on the LGBTQ community. And under Bill C-63, those very same people could potentially get paid by launching an official complaint. Bill C-63 would also allow the complainant to go back in time, meaning they could go through my, almost 20 years of archived video footage and try to just sift through everything and found something that they don't like that I said 15 years ago. Even if I was much younger then and my views have changed, according to Bill C-63, if I have not yet deleted it, I could potentially have a complaint filed against me. I've made thousands of videos that someone could literally go through and file thousands of complaints to censor me and financially destroy me while also making themselves fabulously rich. Now, here's where things get really wild. The person who's complaining can also have their identity withheld and kept secret from the one who they are accusing. So you won't be able to know who your accuser is. It could be an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend, a disgruntled neighbor, or maybe a business rivalry. The point is, you won't know, and therefore, you won't be able to defend yourself accordingly. In the UK, you can now be arrested for simply showing people what's going on. If you post footage of a race riot, for example, and this leads to someone else having ill feelings towards someone else, you could get in trouble. Folks, this is a blueprint for Canada, which is slated to be even worse if Bill C-63 passes. And if it does, Press for Truth is potentially going to be toast. My main YouTube channel with 275,000 subscribers has already been terminated. My Press for Truth Facebook page that had 390,000 followers on it was also terminated. And my Press for Truth Twitter account, which had almost 30,000 followers, was also terminated. And that was blatant censorship. But if Bill C-63 gets passed into law, these kinds of things are just going to be legally par for the course. So I think one of the big takeaways here is that you can't legislate against hate. There's no bill that you can introduce that's going to get people to stop hating. That's just not how society works. But if Bill C-63 passes, I think people might start self-censoring themselves out of fear of offending others. And that is something I would suggest we absolutely cannot do. The truth is incredibly important, and I'm going to continue to bring you the truth at all costs. So if you've been watching Press for Truth for all these years, don't take it for granted. I'm engaged in an uphill battle here, and I'm going to need all the help I can get from you, the viewers. I have zero corporate overlords. I have absolutely no one telling me what to do, and I rely 100% on support that comes directly from you, the viewers. So my friends, if you do appreciate my efforts to continuously bring you this information, please consider making a donation. You can click that top link in the description below of whatever video platform you happen to be watching this on. And that's all for today, guys. Please be sure to share this video while you still can, and support my efforts here at Press for Truth, and stay tuned, guys. We're gonna have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.